Supermarket. We're on Sweetsford Road in Berwyn, Pennsylvania. We're upstairs in the food court. This is the greatest Asian food court in the entire world. You have to try. There's 1 million vendors here selling authentic Asian food at Hung Fa Supermarket in Berwyn. All right. That's the pitch for our place that was kind enough to open their doors to us for this week's live court radio show. And folks, I really do appreciate it. We have a live studio audience, and they've come from long and far. Some folks took as many as 3 buses to get up here, and I really do appreciate the loyalty and the friendship that my court radio live audience always shows me. Up on the dais today, we have the regular court radio firm, Manuel Glenn.
Morning, everybody. Good to see you all.
Eric Tactics Jackson, who's typically working the board.
But I'm free today.
And in the back row is Sarah O, our producer. And you'll notice we have 2 guests with us today. One who's been here before, Mr. Josh Gale. Welcome back, Josh.
Thank you, Dean, for having me again.
And a wonderful client of ours, Marie. Welcome to Court Radio.
Thank you.
How's our volume, guys? All right, you guys need to raise your volume so everybody hears you.
Yep.
I want to just start. This show is going to be dedicated to 2 clients whose cases they've entrusted my Philly lawyer to represent them on. And I want to get their feedback on how that process was. These are people who, this was their very first case ever. And it was, in many ways, a very difficult process, I'm sure, but I want to hear from them how it went. But before I do, I would be remiss if I did not applaud the folks who work behind the scenes at My Philly Lawyer. And I'm going to start with Josh because he's here. We do not win cases because we're lucky. We win cases. Any lawyer will win cases if they are absolutely thorough in their preparation. And it's the little stuff. It's reading, sometimes thousands or tens of thousands of medical records looking for anything that might hurt or help our client's claim to be compensated. And so it's Josh who pores over those medical records, has conversations with our experts and doctors in preparation for their testimony. He's preparing the clients for their piece of the claim. Josh, what was it like to work on this particular case? And this was huge. We had probably more than a dozen defendants in this case.
So My Philly Lawyer has a pre-litigation department and a litigation department. Typically, I'm in the litigation department. So when we're ready to file suit, I get involved in a case. But in this case, I was involved from day one, and it was very strenuous. I think over a 2-year period, I worked on Marie's case every single day. There was a lot to do, obviously a lot of medical records. She had some really horrific injuries, but there was also a lot of research that we needed to do to make sure that we had the right defendants in the case, and that kept coming and coming and coming. The work never really stopped until we were finally able to settle the case.
Let me give you a brief synopsis of Marie's case. Marie was a guest of her fraternity. And I won't be naming any parties, and the reason for that is simple. We have a confidentiality clause in the release that we ultimately signed and Marie signed to end the claim. So we won't identify the parties, but suffice to say that she was a guest at a fraternity party, and the fraternity had assembled or built a stage for a homecoming party. And the stage was designed improperly, built improperly, and while Marie was standing alongside it, the stage collapsed on her. If you can imagine Dorothy or the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz, the entire stage collapsed on both of Marie's ankles. And she was catastrophically injured, multiple surgeries over the course of years, scarring, skin grafts, you name it, this young lady had it, and it was horrible. Well, we got involved in this case, and And I want to ask Marie, what was, just generally, what was your expectation? Did you have any anxiety when you began this process?
Like unreal anxiety, 100%, yeah. Like it was just crazy of just trying to figure out, because it was my senior year as well, so it was just trying to figure out futuristic plans, what I'm going to do with my life, and then having this just on top of it was crazy.
And Marie was 21 years old when this happened to her. She was basically just beginning her senior year of college and getting ready to start her adult life. She was very active. She would run. She would exercise every day. She had great friends. She was doing really, really well in school. And then this horrible thing happened to her, to no fault of her own, and it derailed her whole life for what seemed like an indefinite period of time for her. So a really scary time in her life.
Marie, you had, and I want to the way the litigation process starts is by us filing a lawsuit, a complaint, a civil action against those who we believe were responsible for causing the loss. In Marie's case, that was a number of parties, and as time went by, we continued to add parties to this lawsuit. But at some point, in every case, the plaintiff, the injured party, must testify at a deposition under oath where they are questioned by the attorneys who represent the defendants. And in this case, those law firms not only were from Philadelphia, but they were from around the United States. They would fly in here to take depositions and conduct discovery during the process. So this was a significant matter. A client has to do a deposition. Describe for the folks what you now know a deposition is.
Oh my gosh, well, you don't want to go into one of them. They are very aggressive. They all have their own clients of whom they're representing, so everyone in the room is going to be very knowledgeable, and they all, I mean, you can't be a lawyer and not be amazing at it, that's for sure. But I mean, it was just such an emotional and like taxing thing as well.
How long did your deposition take?
I think it was only estimated to take about half the day. It ended up taking 2 full days. So,
And
yeah.
bear in
full
mind,
days.
there were, I think there were a dozen defendants in the case, each of whom was represented by a lawyer. So each of those lawyers had an opportunity to ask Marie questions over the course of these 2 days. They flew from Texas, they flew from Pittsburgh, they flew from all areas of the country just to be able to have the opportunity to ask Marie questions, and that's their one and only opportunity in the process before the case goes to trial.
And a case can be made or lost at depositions. Say the wrong thing, have the wrong attitude, and the defendants have a picture of this case, or more importantly, the plaintiff, that they believe they'll be able to take advantage of at trial, and their offers of settlement, if any, will be reduced at that point. And if you make your case, if you show them that you're knowledgeable of the facts of the case and the injuries and losses you've sustained and the treatment you've received, and you come across in a authentic fashion, then the value of your case will increase.
What I often tell clients is that the longer a deposition takes, the more value the attorney on the other side has for that case. So if your case is taking 2 days, the lawyer values the case a great deal. So we spent a lot of time before the depositions preparing Marie, talking to Marie about what to expect. We asked her all the questions we could possibly think of that could be asked of her. We went through all of the medical records with her. We went through video with her, photographs. She was thoroughly prepared by not only me, but by Dean and other attorneys in the office.
Marie, was it intimidating at all?
The most intimidating thing I think I ever went through.
Thought so.
But doing that, if you're well prepared, you get into a rhythm of being able to handle the stress of that, and that comes from preparation. And Yes, other people in the office participated in that, but honestly, Josh took the key role in preparing Marie for that deposition, and it's a crucial stage in every single case. At the conclusion of the deposition of all parties, it's when the other side and us will have a conversation, perhaps, about a mediation. What exactly, Josh, Marie, we participated in a mediation for this case. Josh, give us a brief description of what that is, when it happens, and why it happens.
So at the close of this process called discovery, where we're exchanging written documents and we're taking depositions, we ultimately get to a point where we think we have a good idea of what the case is worth, and the other side has a good idea of what they want to pay. But oftentimes we need a neutral party, a mediator, to play the role of kind of judge in an informal way, where it's not binding, where the parties all come together, and that mediator hears the evidence, hears from both sides, has an opportunity to take people into separate rooms, and really gets an opportunity not only to meet Marie, but had an opportunity to meet Marie's parents, and got to know them. And really, you know, we often use mediators that we've worked with in the past. We develop relationships with them over time. So the mediator would say to the other side, you know, these guys are going to take this case to trial. They're ready to try this case if we don't settle this. And so the mediator puts pressure on both sides, trying to get a resolution that is comfortable for both sides, but also a little uncomfortable. But in this instance, we had a really good sense as to what we valued the case to be, and the mediator was on the same page with us. So it was really helpful to be able to say to Marie, this is a chance that we can take to finalize this case before we have to go to trial.
Marie, how was your experience at the mediation?
I mean, throughout all the processes that I went through, whether it be the deposition or the mediation, I think I really just was overwhelmed in the process of, I kind of just sat low in my chair and I trusted you all in it, and I think that also was just like one of the most
Did you
takeaways.
feel like you were prepared for the mediation as to what to expect, and did that preparation meet the reality of the mediation?
I think 100%. I mean, Josh and you both did an extraordinary job of having me prepared to go into every single room that I went into for it.
I want to say that not after every mediation is the case resolved. We have to be prepared to go to trial. That's what convinces defendants to settle cases, if it's going to be settled for fair value, is they know you're willing, able, you're prepared to go to trial. And so at that point, when we go to mediation, we have all of our experts lined up. Experts have testified, provided reports that we've reviewed with them. The client has been deposed. The defendants have been deposed. We have the evidence we need to try this case, and it's only after that that the defendants will make a fair value offer. In this case, as in many, at the conclusion of the mediation, the case did not resolve. What happened, Josh?
Yeah, so we had, you used the word thorough, I think, Marie. We had, I think, 6 or 7 experts in this case, fraternity experts, medical experts, construction experts, all sorts of experts. And we did prove our case to the mediator. And the mediator, at the end of the day, proposed a monetary value where we said this is the least amount we're going to take. Otherwise, if we don't get this amount, if we get a penny less than this amount, we're going to go to trial. And so the mediator said they need more time. They need more time to be able to get that amount of money. Give them some time. And so we said, okay, if you guys want to come together, figure out how you're going to allocate who's paying what to get to that total number, that's fine with us, but we're not participating any further. You're either coming to the table with the money or you're not, and we're going to give you X number of days to be able to do that. And so that's where we left off, and we left it in the hands of the mediator basically at that point to be able to put the pressure on the other side.
Ultimately, Marie's case resolved for exactly the number that we demanded at the mediation.
Marie also, she works for the Sixers. And there's a saying with the Sixers, trust the process. And one of the greatest compliments that Marie gave us throughout the process was she said, I trust you. We were able to build up that level of trust with Marie and with her family over the course of a 2-year period of time, where she put it in our hands and said, you are the experts. I trust you to lead me to the correct resolution. And I think it worked out.
One issue that comes up frequently, if not in every case, is social media. We advise our clients when they become clients to make sure that your social media accounts are made private. If you have a public social media account, the very first thing, maybe before you get out of the emergency room, the defendant's insurance company is investigating your social media accounts to see who you are, how you behave, what you do, how active you are, and then they continue to come back to that account if it's public, time and time again throughout the litigation process. And many people who will say, hey, I can't, at deposition, I can't lift something greater than 20 pounds. I just can't do it, ever. And then they find them on a social media site, like, at the gym lifting a dumbbell with 60 pounds. That's the end of that case. If you're not trustworthy, you're nothing in litigation, because they could have the worst case in the world. They go to the jury at the end and say, look at this, they lied, they're not trustworthy, everything they said today, you have to believe them in order to award them, and you can't believe them because they've lied.
Hey, Dean, can social media actually help you? Let's say that you have social media, and before that you were very active, and then afterwards you're not active. Can you use the social media saying, hey, my client was active, they traveled, they did all this, they did all that, and now they're not able to do it anymore because of the accident?
The quick answer is absolutely. Absolutely. If your social media profile shows an active, healthy person engaged in activities in life, and you're not able to do that after the accident, that will be proof that we could use in that instance. But again, once you become a client and you're involved in litigation, we advise our clients not to post on social media from that point on. We have a curated vision of ourselves that we put on social media. We want the world to see us in a certain way.
Right.
It may not be reality. The reality may be that you come home after you've done something that you posted and you're in pain, but the jury won't know that. The jury will only see the picture of you engaged in some activity that makes it look like you're a healthy, active person. So we ask you to refrain from posting on social media and make your site private. At some point, Marie, your case resolved. Again, because of confidentiality, I can only say it's a significant seven-figure settlement. Significant seven-figure settlement. But something happened. Now, I want people to understand this is a really important, we don't let go of you when you've signed the release and the case is over, okay? There's some additional steps that we partake in, and especially in our significant matters. You should know, when you get a personal injury settlement, it's tax-free. It's 100% tax-free, state, local, federal. You pay no taxes. So if you get $100,000 as an earner, you may pay $30,000 in taxes and net $70,000. If you get $100,000 as a litigant in a personal injury claim, you get $100,000. But what if we can do something to make that even better? And what is it that we do, Josh and Marie? You can both jump in to talk about this. This happens after the settlement has occurred.
Yeah, so sometimes we're able to use what's called a structured settlement or an annuity, which will help a settlement grow over a period of time and grow tax-free. So in Marie's instance, we were able to give her some money up front from the settlement, and that helped her pay off some debts and things like that. But a large portion of Marie's settlement went into a structured settlement where she gets a monthly stipend each month, and then at certain points in time, When she turns certain ages, she gets additional lump sums. So what could be, a 1x turns into a 5x by the time the money is all paid out, and all that growth is tax-free.
Yeah, and that's really so. Getting $1 million today, you take that, you say, Dean, I don't want a structured settlement. Give me my $1 million. I want it now. And most clients are like that. So I say, all right, I've told you, here's your $1 million. They said, we're going to invest it ourselves. We're good. We know what we're doing. They take the $1 million, and if their family hasn't sucked off a half of that in the first few months, they're ahead of the game. But they take that money, they put it in, and they are good investors, and they do double their money in the next 10 years. Well, that $1 million that the first $1 million they got tax-free earned, that's taxed. So they're not going to get $1 million. They're going to get $600,000. So they're going to have $1.6 million after 10 years. But if you allowed us to put that into a structured settlement on day one, instead of you taking it, the insurance company pays it to an annuity company. That $1 million turns into $2 million when you get it, and you get that all tax-free.
Let me
And
slip
so-
and fall now.
I'm sorry?
I said, let me slip and fall now.
Yeah, well, let's hear from Marie about what happened that caused her, because this isn't, I don't really consider this a windfall to Marie. And the reason why it's not taxed is because it's considered compensation to make her whole. Whatever that number is, that's what she lost when they acted in a negligent fashion. The law quantifies her physical loss in a dollar amount, but it is a loss that she sustained. So she's being brought back to where she was before the loss. She's gotten nothing. She's just gotten back to square one with this money. What happened to you in this case? What were some of the highlights of your injuries?
Like everything I went through?
Yes,
So,
yes,
I mean,
yes.
in total, I had 5 surgeries within a span of 2 years. So that was really crazy I was 22, 23. So, like, a really weird age to be going through that stuff while you see your friends, going out or having fun, and you're stuck at home with your leg in a cast. Broke both bones in my one leg, teared ligaments in the other, so had that one. I was quite literally on bed rest and couldn't walk. They gave me a special bracelet to wear so people knew that I was a fall risk, which was a prized possession for me now to look back on, because I think that's always good to just see how far I was able to come, because I just was at a really, really low with everything that I did have to go through.
And Josh, did you set up the doctors that she was seeing so that she could get better?
So for the most part, Marie's doctors were through hospital systems because she was undergoing some major surgeries. And so she had worked with companies like Premier Orthopedics, I believe some major health systems out in Harrisburg where she was from, and then continued with physical therapy. I mean, she if she wanted to, she could still be in physical therapy now. But she most recently was in physical therapy in the Manayunk and Roxborough area where she resides now. But my son is here, and he explained it best. He said, it sounds like what they did was they took a 21-year-old and they made her a 65-year-old. Wow. And from the mouths of babes. So he's exactly right. I mean, she's someone who could potentially have early onset of arthritis. She has permanent hardware in her legs that make it very difficult for her to stand for long periods of time. She can't run like she used to. Walking is difficult. Now, what's amazing is the recovery that she's experienced. She was bedridden for a significant period of time, months. Wasn't able to get out of bed. Had to learn how to walk. Had to learn how to get onto a treadmill to run a little bit. But now, now she's beautiful, right? She has experienced such an amazing recovery, physically, mentally, emotionally, everything. And one of the most amazing things that happened in Marie's case was basically the day that I told her that the case settled, this burden lifted off of her. And she can explain that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it truly was just the weirdest feeling of just the internal, like I wasn't expecting it. I was kind of in shock. I started to cry then after, I think I waited to walk away. Keep my composure for the time being, but it was just like all the internal thoughts and struggles that I had kept like to myself or just towards peers or like through my family members or even talking to you guys even during those hard times. Like it was just like a dark gray cloud just drifted away and it was all sunshine and rainbows, and I feel like I was able to then like truly just look in the mirror and like be like, oh my gosh, like I feel so relieved all of a sudden now. Like, what is this?
And Marie
Well,
has
part of-
physical manifestations of stress that she experienced. So her legs have scarring, and the scars for a very long period of time were inflamed, reddened, and then after the settlement happened, that went away. I mean, her skin has returned to a normal pinkish hue. She doesn't have the swelling anymore, and that stress, I think, alleviated as a result of the settlement and helped her physically heal.
What part of the issue, I believe, is when you get a settlement, when you have a settlement that you feel properly compensates you, it's like the other side is finally taking that responsibility. They're finally saying in a concrete way, we did you wrong and we're sorry. And that in itself has it relieves that stress from you. Am I putting words in your mouth, or was that really
No.
what happened?
Yeah, because it's always just then, like, to the point of Josh's son, of, you know, aged me tremendously. And it's always then, I'm 24 now, and it's just the fear of the unknown of, I have how many years left in my life, and I already have, like, surgery scheduled for me. I already know I'm going to be back in physical therapy. I already know all of these challenges that I'm going to face. So it was just, like, a relief and like just a calmness from them taking responsibility. Yeah.
And Marie went through a tremendous struggle, but is doing tremendously well now. She's excelling at work. She's excelling physically. She's excelling mentally, and really happy for her and her recovery.
Josh, how long does somebody have to file suit in Pennsylvania or New Jersey before they can?
Yeah, there's a 2-year period of time, a statute of limitations for 2 years for personal injury. So if you get injured on day one, you have to file a lawsuit within 2 years of that day in Pennsylvania, unless there's some special circumstances, but that's a whole nother radio show.
But we added defendants after the 2-year statute. How could we do that in this case?
So Pennsylvania has a John Doe law. It's a rule of civil procedure that allows you to add John Does or ABC companies as defendants. If you've done your due diligence and you're not able to identify the appropriate named party or their address or the company's name, you can add a John Doe, and then through discovery, when you find out the name of that person or the name of that company, you can file a motion to amend that complaint to substitute the John Doe with the appropriate named party. And that's a rather new mechanism in Pennsylvania law, but it definitely helps us in situations like this when there are shell companies, there are they're playing shell games basically for insurance purposes or for corporate protections, and it can be very difficult to identify who the appropriate corporate entity is. And then you've got other situations where, you know, the fraternity brothers in this instance, they were the ones that paid the insurance, but they're not actually covered by the insurance. So the alumni are covered by the insurance. The housing corporation is covered by the insurance. And so we needed to make sure that we had the appropriate parties. And just to protect ourselves and to protect Marie, we added ABC companies as defendants. We added John Doe's as defendants in this case.
All right, we are at our half hour. We've got to take a break for our sponsors who pay the show for us, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, we're going to start back. Yeah, we are still on YouTube.
All right, does anyone have a question?
Take the microphone
Take
to
the
this
mic.
young lady, please.
It's a cordless.
You're on the clock, Manuel.
Marie, you're beautiful. I'm so glad you're.
What was, I couldn't hear, sorry.
Is it on?
I missed it.
It's definitely on.
Was it
All right. Hey.
Marie, can you hear me? Marie, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. You're beautiful. I'm so glad you're fully
Thank you.
recovered. Well recovered. But I wanted to ask, how long did the case, I guess, take from beginning to end, from your injury to the settlement?
Great question. Okay, let me just repeat that in case you didn't hear. From the beginning, and I guess beginning is when the accident happened, until the case was finally resolved, how much time did it take?
So it happened
September 30th.
30th,
2023.
2023. The year is important. And then it just got resolved
March.
when? March 2026. So
Almost
long
3
time.
years. And that was pretty quick considering how many defendants we had and how complicated this case was. I have cases, to answer the point, I have cases, and it really depends on where you file suit. This case was filed in Philadelphia County, and they have a tremendous civil docket that the judges work through constantly, and the judges set deadlines. In other counties, like Montgomery County, attorneys set the deadlines, and they're notoriously slower at it. I have a case in Montgomery County that will come to trial in December of this year that is 12 years old.
Wow.
It was a birth injury case. This child was 12 years old. It is now 12 years old, was born 12 years ago with cerebral palsy, and we are claiming that it was a delay in the delivery that caused that. That case is just getting tried in Montgomery County in December, and it's 12 years old. But the average case, I would say 3 to 4 years from beginning to end, and closer to 3 in Philadelphia.
You know what didn't come up? Marie, how did you find out or wind up going to My Philly Lawyer? Out of all the law firms, why did you choose Dean?
I mean, I feel like I should have my mom answer that.
Is
So-
she here?
She is.
She
She's
is.
right there.
Over to Mom.
While we're going over to Mom, really interesting. So Marie was, like we talked about, she was bedridden for the first several months. Marie wasn't able to do anything. Mom did everything for Marie for a long
I was
period
on
of
a
time.
lot of medication.
So when we realized we needed assistance, we reached out to several in the area, and I connected with My Philly Lawyer, spoke to Robert Nix, one of the partners, and he took a vested interest, and we felt heard from the get-go from him, and he gave us the game plan in a very concrete, easy way for us to understand why we were obviously navigating. The most important thing was Marie's health. And he let us know that they would take care of all the details and we could take care of her. And that was tremendous as a guardian, as a parent, to have that support. And it came through, and I'm going to give a shout out to Paris, who was then our main contact for fact-finding on all the things, and down to the receptionist when we would enter.
Anissa, thank you, Anissa.
And truly, within each stage, it was truly... like Marie said, the trust. We knew we chose right from the day one.
There you go. Thank you. Any other
All right.
questions from the audience? We're good?
Folks, we are, actually, yeah, we needed to do a switcheroo
Yeah.
on break.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Marie.
Thank
You're
you.
done.
Thank you,
Marie,
Marie.
ladies and
Thank you,
gentlemen.
Marie.
Come on up.
Yeah, that works. Kind of.
Okay.
Come on, Rosie. There you go. Everybody say hi to Rosie.
Rosie! Welcome back. We are live on Court Radio every Saturday right here. No, not right here.
No,
We are,
no, we're right here. We'll be right here every week. Let them know.
We're here at Hung Fa Supermarket in Berwyn, Pennsylvania on Swedesford Road, a great Asian supermarket in Chester County. And on the second floor, they have the most amazing food court, an Asian food court with a dozen vendors who are selling all types of Asian food. You're going to love it. The fruit, I want to just say, I'm a shopper at Hung Fa. The fruit here is on par with Whole Foods or the best produce in the area at a better price. You got to check it out. We're going to be doing some giveaways at the conclusion of today's show, and the supermarket was generous enough to give us $500 gift cards. We're going to be doing raffles. You all have raffle tickets. We've got all kinds of giveaways, which we'll do at the conclusion of the show, so hang tight. In the meantime, My Philly Lawyer brings court radio to you every Saturday, 215-227-2727, the only number you need to know for a legal firm in Philadelphia. We have a new client up here. First half of the show, we were with Marie. This half of the show, we're with Rosie. Welcome to the show, Rosie.
Nice to meet you guys.
So, whereas Marie's claim was owned a car and they had an uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage on that policy. I say it over and over again on this show, and today's no exception. It is so crucial to have the most coverage possible, and if you own more than one car, to have it stacked so that for a few dollars more a year, instead of having the coverage from a single car, God forbid, if your injuries are serious enough, they stack each coverage from every car you own. So if you have $300,000 or $100,000 in coverage on one car, but you have three cars, you'd have $300,000 or $900,000 because they just stack one on top of the other. And it's very, very, very cheap to get that additional coverage. Foolishly, people are advised by their agent not to do it, or they're not reminded to do it, and they don't. And the insurance company loves that because for only a few dollars of a loss in premium, they don't have to pay you 2 or 3 times the value of the policy.
Dean, did you know that in Pennsylvania, the minimum amount of car insurance you're required to have for liability is only $15,000, and the majority of drivers out there are driving with only $15,000 in coverage?
Unfortunately, between those who have no coverage and those who have only $15,000, you're dealing with more than 50% of the population. It is rare to have somebody have sufficient coverage. And in Rosie's case, the injury to her nose, I valued at something in excess of 6 figures. And she had insurance coverage that would match the amount I thought the value of this claim was. So we were able, over time, to convince her not. So first you have to settle with the at-fault party. Then you have to go back to your carrier and ask them permission to give a release to the at-fault party. Because once you give that release, you can never go back to the at-fault party to get another nickel. So the insurance company, before they pay us any money on uninsured or underinsured motorists, will do an asset check on the at-fault driver to make sure that while they may only have $15,000 in insurance, maybe they've got millions and millions in the bank. In 40 years of practicing, it's never happened. But they go through the process of checking to make sure that the defendant does not have sufficient assets. Then they say to us, okay, you can sign that release. Because technically, if your carrier pays you any money under your uninsured and underinsured coverage, they're entitled to recover that back from the at-fault driver. But once you sign a release, you can never go back to the at-fault driver. Your carrier cannot go back. And so they have to agree to release them as well.
Say yes, we have an injury from this accident. It's a little complicated, but here's the steps that are necessary for her to take in order to recover for her injuries.
The defendant insurance company is your insurance company. It's the person or the company that you pay a premium to for this coverage. However, in these circumstances, they're not your friend. in these circumstances, they are trying to beat you down and try to claim that the injuries you believe are caused by this accident were not, that they were caused prior to the loss, that they were caused subsequent to the loss. They're trying to minimize their payment to you. In this instance, Rosie's payment was the full policy that she had purchased. So every penny that she had purchased was what they ultimately paid. However, when they originally entered into the conversation with me about settlement, they were offering far less than that. And they would come back repeatedly over time and continued to try to force us into a settlement that was some amount less than her coverage. Eventually, they gave in. And eventually they paid. I will say this, Rosie's entire policy was paid out. If Rosie had more coverage, I would have gotten more money. So the question then is, when you get into purchasing a policy of uninsured and underinsured coverage, how much should you purchase? How much is enough? Is 15 enough? Is 30 enough? Is 50? Is 100? Is $1 million? And it really depends on your level of how much risk you want to take. If you sustain $1 million accident and can never work again for the rest of your life, are you going to be happy with a settlement of $50,000? Probably not. The only way to protect yourself and your family is to make sure that you have enough coverage on your own policy to cover you for any loss you sustain. People look at the premiums they pay and are guided. It's not uncommon for somebody to say to their agent, I want to be legal, but I want to pay the least amount possible. This is not where you're shorting yourself. Would you, if you had a loan on your car for $50,000, insure your car for $10,000? Probably not. When it comes to the car, we're all very, very clear that we want to make sure, God forbid, our car is stolen or it's a complete loss, that we're going to be compensated for that. We're not going to have to come out of pocket. But we don't think about is our body, our ability to work, getting medical bills over the course of your lifetime. And all of those things are, in my opinion, are much greater risks to you than the actual vehicle that you own.
One question. So when you talk about underinsured, because the insurance companies base that risk almost on where you live. So if you live in an area that's more populated, those premiums are going to be a lot higher. And explain to everybody about, when you get a new car, getting gap insurance so that you're not liable for the loss.
You love that gap insurance thing.
Look,
He brings it up constantly.
Hey, it saved me.
Gap insurance. So if you take a loan out on a car and you leave the dealership, the car depreciates just as soon as you hit the street. I don't know how much it depreciates, but it's not uncommon for it to depreciate to an amount less than what you owe on the car. When you're involved in an accident, the at-fault driver must make you whole. But the law defines being made whole for your car differently than your body. For your car, it's the actual cash value of your car. And so if your car, so they'll look at Carfax, they'll look at NADA, there's websites that you can go to figure out what the value of your car is today. And if the value of your car is 30, but you owe your bank 40, you're only getting paid 30, even though you owe 40. You're in the bag for that 10 grand unless you have this gap coverage. A lot of times when you lease a vehicle, this is really where this comes into play, because what they do is they multiply your lease payments that you owe from that day till the end of the lease. And so that can be a very big number. And so lease companies will often insist that you get gap insurance. But it happens even when you purchase a car, but not as, they won't insist that you take out gap insurance as frequently as on a leased vehicle. So you want to make sure that that gap insurance is in place if you've leased the vehicle, unless you're putting down a significant deposit. If the car is 50 grand and you're putting down 25, probably you'll never be upside down. You don't have to worry about gap insurance. But if you're just putting a token amount down and you're getting a loan for the vast majority of the value of that car, you must get gap insurance in those circumstances. Good question, bro.
Thanks.
Yeah,
That's why I'm with you.
you're a student of the law.
Is that why he's sitting here?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
why he's sitting.
How long has it been now? 14, 15 years?
How long has it been? Maybe 12 years almost.
Yes, we've been doing court radio for quite a while. All right, but unfortunately, we're out of time. I've got to take a quick 2-minute break for our sponsors. We'll be right back to answer your legal questions. Okay.
Does anyone have a question in the audience? Somebody else? All right, who? Here we are, back here. How are you? I'm good. What's your name?
Ingrid,
Ingrid, speaking to the microphone. What's your question?
my question is about rideshare drivers.
Closer.
Rideshare drivers.
Uh-huh.
What is the difference between saying that you're a rideshare driver and not saying it?
Okay, what a great question. So often today we go out and we get insurance and we share very little information with our insurance company. And we know that occasionally we're going to do a DoorDash or an Uber Eats or a Lyft. And if you're operating your vehicle as one of those gig economy employees, and you've not told your insurance company that you do that, and you have an accident, you are up the proverbial,
Creek
Without-
without a paddle.
yeah, because your insurance company is going to deny the claim. Well, first of all, every insurance company, everyone, as soon as you have an accident, the first question they're going to ask is, what were you doing, where were you going? And they're looking for you to tell them whether you were involved in a ride share. And you're on an app. It's hard to lie about that. They can figure that out, and then you'll have insurance fraud on top of everything else. So you tell them you're on the app, and they deny your claim as being you were uninsured. Because if you read your policy, which none of us do, it says you're uninsured if you're using your vehicle. Even remember when you were a kid, if you were delivering newspapers, and you used to your dad would drive you around to deliver newspapers and throw the newspapers out of the car. If you're using your car as a delivery service, even for newspapers, you have no coverage. You have no coverage. You must tell your carrier about that. All right, we're coming back on.
Live, my Philly lawyer. Welcome back.
Yes, we are live. Court Radio. We're at Hung Fa Supermarket on Sweetsford Road in Berwyn, Pennsylvania. Upstairs on the second floor, they got an amazing Asian food court. You got to come out to try it. That was a great question. On break, we took a question dealing with ride shares. And it's so important. I just want to mention again, if you have any plans to do rideshare, before you do rideshare, please share with your insurance company. Some carriers will accept the policy for rideshare and charge you a little bit more. Others won't, but you want to be with a company, and the rideshare companies provide insurance. You want to get it through them if you have to. If you're DoorDashing, DoorDash may offer you insurance while you're on the app. It's not that expensive. It's the only way to cover your vehicle if you're on the app. So make sure you've shared that with the insurance company, because otherwise you will find yourself in a world of trouble if you're involved in an accident and you don't have coverage.
Denied.
I'm doing the EV now. I'm scootering a lot. I'm doing my EV bike as well as driving. I get in an accident. Is it my automobile insurance? Is it my home insurance? How am I covered?
It is your your health insurance and your homeowner's insurance. If you're riding an EV vehicle that does not require a registration, there's no license tag on the vehicle, so it goes under like 27 miles an hour, no greater than that, and you buy them, you use them. We have bicycles like that, we have scooters. Those vehicles, if you're involved in an accident, it's as if you are a pedestrian. While you're using those vehicles, the pedestrian laws apply. If you're struck by an automobile, that automobile's health insurance will have to pay for your health medical bills in that circumstance. And if the auto is at fault, then you can go back to the auto for pain and suffering. If you just happen to fall off the auto, you aren't struck by a car, you just fall off of the EV and you're injured, then your health insurance will pay for it.
Yeah.
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 All right. Any other questions? We'll take questions from live on our YouTube feed. We got a question? Okay, so in Marie's case, was her emotional trauma considered in the settlement? Josh?
Yes. There was definitely an emotional component to that, but it was a little bit difficult to quantify. We take into account what pain and suffering means. It's not just what your physical injuries are, but it's also the emotional injuries that you suffer as well. And Marie's here to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Is it on?
You're on.
Speak up.
Is it on? Okay. Regardless, even if it was considered in it all, I think my Philly lawyer did an extraordinary job considering it. So I think that ultimately was just the true testament of it all. So thank you guys so much for that.
Yeah.
You're very welcome. You know, you have to be a good lawyer, I think you need to be authentic. You're convincing a judge or a jury that your arguments carry more weight than your opponent's arguments. In order to be that person who can convince that judge or jury, you have to believe in your case. You have to be authentic. And I think we bring that to the table when we're representing clients. We have those meetings with clients to understand how this case has impacted their life.
And sometimes cases have strengths and weaknesses, and you have to be honest about the weaknesses, not only with the client, but with the other side, because they're going to try to take advantage of that. But if you get out of ahead of it, and you can identify that and to whatever extent possible, minimize that weakness, it adds to the credibility of your case. As long as you're honest, you disclose whatever the issue might be up front, the issue generally goes away. And then you can focus on the strengths of their cases, and that's what carries the day.
Other questions? Yes.
Yeah, so
Let me just repeat so we know we're hearing it. Having to do with deposition preparation, what do I need to do and be aware of to get my point across at depositions and to prevent the defendant attorney from taking advantage of me?
Or challenging.
Right, so the biggest rule in giving a deposition is to tell the truth. No matter what, tell the truth. The worst thing that can happen is a lie comes out. Because if you are found in a lie, that destroys all credibility. You could be the most injured person in the world. You will not get your full fair share because of that lie. So the number one rule is don't lie. Number two, if you don't remember, that's fine. You can say, I don't remember. That's a perfectly fair question, fair way to answer a question. We don't want you to guess. But we're going to make sure that you have a general understanding of the medical treatment that you received. I mean, it's your treatment. We want you to be able to describe what treatment you received, but also to describe the impact that this injury had on your life. Really, that's the most important question that's asked. What happened to you? What can't you do now? How did this impact your life? That's your opportunity to tell your story.
I'll give you a secret. I ask every client when they become a client to keep a diary of the pain, of the impact that the injuries have had on their life, missed opportunities, and write that contemporaneously while it's happening so it's fresh in your mind. And then when the deposition comes, you pull your diary out and it's all there for you to share with the other side. Again, authenticity, truthfulness, this is what will win the day. Unfortunately, folks, as often is the case, we are all out of time. We're going to be wrapping up. We'll see you next Saturday, same time, same place. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
What a great live show. We'll see you next week, folks.
Thanks, Ash.
Okay, guys, I will answer any questions that you have, either publicly or privately. We have YouTube questions. We could stay on live if we have questions. Otherwise, we're going to go to a raffle. Questions? Anybody about anything? Yes.
Oh, I think
The ride share coverage.
with the
Yeah.
ride share coverage and
So, it used to be
a million.
when I started, when ride shares came to Pennsylvania, they had beautiful uninsured and underinsured policies.